Hey, welcome to Coffee Chat. Today we're going to be talking with Jinny Wong. I am just going to invite her in. I sent your request, Jinny. Hey,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm just turning it. If I'm shaking, I'm turning up my volume.
No, no worries.
Quick.
I should do the same. There we go.
Cool. Yeah, I'm like running and taking the dog outside. I'm like making sure the kids are okay at 10. I'm like, okay, I gotta go.
Oh man, I just got back from grocery shopping, putting away the groceries, had to make the kids smoothies,
Yeah.
but I was like, here's some crispers.
Yeah. You and I
Don't
had
talk.
that. Yeah, you and I both are like managing like getting these lives in between kids. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, that's why coffee chat has moved to different times of the day depending on the week.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
But
Indeed.
it, so Jinny Wong is a fellow actress, and do you have any other titles? I didn't ask you that. Like producer, director, any other thing?
No, no,
Okay.
but I crochet. I'm a crocheter.
Nice.
And I make jewelry. Yeah, I do random things, but no, not a multi hyphenate in that world.
Yeah. Do online shopping, Jinny.
Yes, I online shop a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I order groceries through Instacart now because I'm like, I don't want to go to the grocery store. I just don't want to. They have,
Yeah, I haven't ventured down the Instacart, but what my experience with some of the other, like I've done the click and collect, I've done, just a few of the delivery things is
yeah,
I find that not everything is available, and then I have to run out anyway.
yeah. So Instacart one, I like it because you can, when you're ordering, you can already select a substitution, or while they're shopping for you, they can chat with you in like the app itself, and then you can,
Okay.
if something's out of stock, they can ask you if you want a replacement, if you just want it refunded.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
That sounds, yeah, that's way better.
It's just I like it now because like I pay the $10 a month for the delivery, and I can get groceries. If say I run out of things like 3 times a week, I can get as many deliveries as I want for that $10. I just pay tips on top of it. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's a great deal. I didn't know about that. Thanks.
no problem. I
Every
just
day. Yeah, learning every day.
you learn every day. So there's a bunch of people that are joining. For those of you who don't know Ginny, I was hoping you could give them a bit of like a background bio on yourself.
Well, I'm a mom and an actor. I started, I guess, my professional acting career way back in like 2005 when I started in theater. I was working with Disney Cruise Line.
Oh
So I
wow.
did 3 contracts with them and I loved it, but it was hard being away from home and being on a ship all the time. Like you really go through this phase. Like I just remember like at first you're just like, oh, I hate it. And then you're like, you get really into it and you're excited and everybody's like best friends. And then by, a little bit, like 3/4 of the contract, everybody hates each other. You're just like sick of everybody, right? You're just stuck on
Yeah.
this metal tube for such a long time.
Yeah.
And then near the very end, like the last month, everybody's like, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss, and then everybody's like
Yeah.
best friends again. So it's like this whole emotional roller coaster that happens. But it was, I mean, I did most of my traveling
Yeah.
then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then when I left the ship, I became a flight attendant.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I was trying to incorporate the acting. Theater was really hard because as a junior flight attendant, you basically you're kind of like on call.
Yeah.
So you can't really have 2 on-call jobs. It doesn't really work. So I kind of put that off. I actually went back to school for journalism for a little bit because I was like, I was like, what's the most practical job
Yeah.
I could possibly have? That's still like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a journalist. Like, that's going to be easier.
Yeah. No.
Rejection rate just as high, just
Okay.
as high. I'll say that. So then but with that, I gained, editing skills and writing skills and all kinds of other things. So I was able to do freelance work. And that was a wonderful experience for a while. And then and then I just started slowly getting back into auditioning, and then I was moving into the world of TV and film. And then I had to stop again. I had kids. But after the second one, after I left from mat leave, after I was finished with mat leave, I was just like, well, let's just do it. Don't wait to lose the baby weight. Don't wait for anything. Let's just do it and see what happens. And then I got Cutie Pugs, which was amazing.
Yeah.
That's a TV series on TVO Kids.
Yeah.
Which is super cute with cute little dogs. If you're into dogs, you'll love it.
Okay.
And then things just started happening, and then I got an agent, and you know, I was just able to make it all work, and everything just kind of went together.
So did you find it hard to go from, because you did kid stuff, you said first, right? So did you find it hard to switch genres?
I think that I still very much like the roles that I end up going for, especially in the very beginning, was still very mom, right? That's my brand, right? Smiley mom.
Yeah.
It's only recently where I've been called in for like cop roles. It's like one headshot. It's like that one headshot that's getting me these roles.
Yeah.
And but you just kind of have to have the mindset, like not all cops are the same.
Right.
And maybe they want the nice cop.
Yeah.
And so that's just the mindset. Like I've had to do a lot of mindset work. I think the most important thing is just being able to not be like, oh well, I'm not going to get that for sure. It's just like, hang on, let's see how we can work this out. And
mind track is horrible. I did a lot of mindset work last year too. I got through like a transformational coaching program, which was strictly focused on mindset with a group of people. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jim Fortin.
No.
So he does a lot of Neuro Linguistics programming training about how to reteach your brain habits, goals, and beliefs for success. Stuff about how like the brain's basically a computer that you can like reteach, right? So that you stop sabotaging yourself. But yeah, that's huge. What you're saying is the mindset thing, because until you get that, you literally psych yourself out of the audition. So you're literally sabotaging yourself before you even go in.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, I think that mindset has been there's been such a huge push. Like since, I mean, I think I started delving into it a little bit like 2018, because things and then once you start digging in, right? Yeah. So then it was like Joe Dispenza, I was reading about, and then I like deep sea dive into a lot of these things, like, you know, Mind Valley, and then on the casting workbook just the last year, the whole Joe Town and the team mindset, the performer's mindset.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so helpful. It's so helpful, and now I can catch myself when I'm like,
and I'm glad you bring that, because it's not to say that we never get into that. It's that we can catch ourselves and pull out faster.
Exactly.
So stuck in it.
Yeah. Exactly, right? Because you're gonna. I mean, look at the year we had.
Yeah.
This school, like the moment they shut schools down.
Auditioning with have you done like auditions with your kids in the vicinity while you're having like a live audition?
I bribe. There's a lot of bribery.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, things that they were never allowed to do prior to the pandemic. Like they got to watch maybe like YouTube when we went out. Like with the babysitter. That was like the special thing. Like we go out without you, but you get 10 minutes of YouTube. Like that was their treat. And they'd get like, you know, like 3 like sour, like fuzzy peaches or something like that. And now it's like 20 minutes of YouTube. I'm just like, whatever, just get away from me. I just need a moment. And then they're still like, I can see them so I'm in the basement, and this is like, I kind of made this like my little area, but there's the window, and they'll like peek through and be like, are you done? And even my husband did that the other day. He was like looking in it, and I was like, no, I'm still in the waiting room.
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know when I'm going to be let in. Just,
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. I've had 2 Zoom auditions. Most of them have been self-tapes, thank God, right? Because then I can like do them when they're like occupied or sleeping. But I've had 2 live Zoom auditions, and Tim was at work for one of them, so I had to like ask my teenage daughter, who's in class, but to watch my little guy while I'm doing this while she's trying to do her class too, for me to do the Zoom. But sometimes they get like a little like loud upstairs, and it's like you've been taught not to apologize, but at the same time, it's like, I'm sorry for the noise upstairs. I can't help it.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And it's just natural instinct. You're just like, you're embarrassed. But you know what I think I've learned, so like my husband works from home too, and he's a real estate agent. And sometimes the kids are just like full on screaming.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going. He's just like, it's been a year. Like you people know.
Yeah.
Like I think there's just an innate thing, like when like the business people, like I have a friend, she's a professor.
Yeah.
She's a doctor of like software engineering. And she was like, in the beginning, she's like, I was so embarrassed on my Zoom calls with my students, you know, because my kids were running in and out. Now she's like, baby in the hip. She's like, whatever, this is it. You want my help? You want to learn something? This is real life. And I'm like, that's so, like, again, it's a mindset. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's right.
And I get that with like with these, it's like, okay, if my kids run in or if they come tackling each other on a live, okay, I'm fine. But I haven't progressed to auditions yet for that.
Yeah, that's still, that's like uber serious. It's like,
this is a job interview, people.
Although I did a self-tape at a studio, and the coach, well-respected, excellent coach, and his studio was right on Bloor Street. Yeah. And when he was shooting, and he had a dog, and when we were shooting, a few times it was like you could hear the dog like lapping out water, which is just like not a great sound. And then like you could hear the traffic outside. Like, oh, maybe it didn't catch but then I watched the replay and I was like, so like, is that okay? And he's like, yes, of course that's okay. And I was like, really? I was like, because if there's even the littlest noise in my self-tape at home, that's a retake. Yeah. Right? But he was just like, no, he's like, this is life. That's what happens.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, my teenage son, the one day I was like doing a self-tape and all of a sudden he starts yelling at his video game. I'm like, Lucas!
That was the best take. I was in it.
Or like, we have a rescue dog now and her nails are a little long, even though the vet trimmed them, but you can still hear them go click, 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 click when she walks overhead. So I'm like, Coda, just like stay stationary for like a second. I get what you mean though. The sound, it's like, do I need to redo this? But it was like such a good take.
It's I don't know. I think for that, it's still always going to be like nagging in your mind. And I mean, even other things, right? Like I did a tape and it was just for a class, not just for a class, but it was for a class. And I was like, oh, that one was really good. I was like, but I should be wearing like a blazer or something. And I'm like, and then I just couldn't replicate it. And I was just like, screw it. It's more important than my face is working, like than the wardrobe, right? But
yeah, I've been there. I'm like, okay, well, like my hair was like clinging to my neck in that take, but the take was really good. I'm like, I'm sending it because my hair is like staticky and sometimes it'll like be clinging to my neck. I'm like, and I didn't freaking notice. And I'm like, but the take's good. Like, are they really not going to give me the role because my hair, like one piece was like over here?
They're just like, oh, her hair is so unruly. Who knows in this competitive world? But and then you also have to think like if I was live, I get one take and maybe my hair would be whatever, or my belly, like I didn't suck it in enough during my slate, because sometimes you don't know, like sometimes the slate is just chest up and then other times they zoom out and they don't always tell you and you're just like, is that, excuse me, how much of my body are you gonna get? I need to know how how much inhale I need.
Yeah. The slate I find almost harder than the actual takes because it's like saying my name. It's like, hi, I'm Jen Gardner. Hello, I'm Jen Gardner. Hello, I'm Jen Gardner. It's like you say your name over and over again. It's like, am I saying this correctly? Am like,
is that my name?
Is it? Am I too happy? Do I sound too Valley Girl? Do I sound too dramatic?
I know. And it's like two schools of thought. They're just like, well, this is your chance
Yeah.
to show them your personality. Right? So you're just like, hi, like this is me, but then I'm a cop and I'm like trying to be serious. And I'm like, am I throwing them off? Like, are they going to think like, this girl is acting too much, right? And then anyway, it's just two schools of thought. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to try to just be middle of the road. But then people are like, never be middle of the road. Bold choices. And I'm like, but it's the slate too? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but they start judging you from your slate, right? Which is why, like, Jesse Griffiths, I love when he asks for tail slate, because then I don't overthink it, right? I'm like, okay, they're seeing my audition first, and then they'll see my slate, right?
Right.
Whereas, like, slates first, it's like, oh, okay, this is my first impression. Like, what if I don't give a good first impression? Click away and don't even watch my take.
Right. And then some people are like, oh, you always do tail slate.
Yeah.
You could always do tail slate.
Yeah.
But then there are other people that are just like, no, this is like, and I think I've just come to the conclusion just now is that I feel like for commercials, because your key thing is that you're likable, right? Yeah. So you want to be like fun and likable in your slate.
Yeah.
And then if it's like a TV, you know, more of a serious, a theatrical role, then you would do maybe a tail slate.
Yeah.
I've decided that's going forward from this point forward.
Yeah, but then you get some casting directors that specifically ask where to put the slate, right?
Right.
And then you ask what kind, like they tell you what kind of, I shouldn't say ask, they tell you what kind of slate they want, like a medium close-up or a medium slate. They want it at the beginning of the take, and then you get some people saying tail slate, please, right? So it depends on the casting director too, right?
Right. For I love it when they're specific. I love it.
Yes, please tell me what you want.
And for the live Zooms,
yeah,
because sometimes I purposely log in early now because they'll say, like they won't say anything. They'll just be like, show up, you know, frame this part up, right? Yeah. So you show up, and then in the chat box they'll say, oh, make sure you're ready for a full body.
Okay.
Now I've got to make sure. So now I'm just always like, I'm going to log in early in case if there's anything. But there are certain casting directors that will make a point and they'll send you like, make sure you can easily move your camera for a full body slate. You can do this, you can do that. Yeah. So helpful.
A really good tip too. What I found that I didn't know existed, I haven't ordered it yet, but I'm going to. I'm making a point of ordering it this weekend, is that they now have laptop tripods.
Yes, I did hear of that before because I was it was a different coach and she was showing all of her equipment and she was like, don't play around. She's like, get a proper, and it kind of looks like a music stand, I guess. Yeah. It's like a stand and then it's on a tripod and you can drop and lift it. But you know what? I kind of decided that I like using either my phone. Yeah. Some people have said if you have an iPad, use your iPad. Yeah. Because then nothing is on. But I just use my phone, and I know that some people are like, don't use your phone. But I'm like, if connection drops, it automatically changes to my LTE or whatever it is. Yeah. So I don't worry about that. And then I just go in my settings and I turn off all of my notifications. Yeah. And then it's easy. It's like, wait, if you want it, like I feel more in control, and I also feel like I'm just so used to it because I use my phone for self-tapes. I know what I look like. I know, right? Because I find with my webcam, I do use my webcam on my laptop. Well, I have like a separate webcam. Yeah. But I find that sometimes the lighting is weird. Okay. And then it's just like and it's like not always. Like I'll set the lights up the exact same, but if it's like the time of day or whatever it is, like just different factors affect the lighting. Yeah. And then I'm just, it's just, for me, an extra layer of stress. No, I don't need it.
Your phone, if it's Zoom, is some programs you can't do on your phone. Like when I'm doing We Audition, you can only do the We Audition on desktop.
Okay, I've never done a Wii audition.
Yeah, that's why I like the laptop for that. I've gotten used to doing it on my laptop, but that's a good point about your phone if it's Zoom, because you can do Zoom on your phone. But I'm constantly, even though like my phone, like I have a stand, right, but it doesn't go my entire height, so I'm still like having to like jig it so that you get my entire height in with my phone stand. So the laptop, I thought I have like little short phone stands too that I could put my laptop, like I could put my phone stand on my laptop tripod, and I can still move it up and down if they need me to like, a whole body or like right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it's just an extra tool that I have at my disposal that if
For
I
sure.
put something on, even if you need to put your sides on, right, just so that you have like accessible, but you're not holding them, right?
Yeah. Just to have a little like, you know, because sometimes those turnarounds,
Right?
like I've had like 4 scenes before, like 15 pages, and they want it in 24 hours. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to cheat. I'm going to have to cheat a little bit.
Yeah,
I have to print them off and tape them to my light here.
yeah. You're getting all the behind the scenes tips from us, right?
Yes. I hope casting don't watch. I memorize every single one of those lines.
Well, I try my best to have it all memorized. There's always like 1 or 2 lines that refuse to stick in your head. So I have a C stand that I have at one point put over top of my laptop. So it was right above my laptop, and I hang off of it with tape.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard another tip is just to have it on your screen.
Yeah.
Because then you can like zoom in.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
yeah, it's just then you're not seeing your reader, right? So that's
right.
a problem for me with that. So I'm like, this is just a safety. I blow it up enough that if I need to look, I like, and then like looking up and thinking, and I get.
It's always like, oh yes, or you're just like, I can't.
Right? Just little things that you find to make it work when you do have those quick turnaround times, so that you're not constantly like looking down and picking up your line. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's another like mindset thing, right? Like there's a lot of coaches and a lot of casting directors that are just like, we know when we gave that to you.
Mm-hmm.
We don't expect you to be like, that's not what we're hiring you for. We're not hiring you for, you know, supersonic memorization brain. We're hiring you for your acting, and that you're able to make it work in the short turnaround time. And you know, some people are like, we expect you to have your sides. If anything, that's the skill you need to learn, is how you're going to have your sides and also make it work.
Yeah, and you know, I understand having them memorized for the ones where you have like they give you 2-3 days notice. Like those you should be on the ball with. I get that. The ones like urgent audition. Can you do an audition at 2 o'clock this afternoon? It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And those like quickly trying to memorize, and then you plastering in front of you so that if you do forget a line, you can pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends, right? And again, like Jinny's saying, they want the best version that you can give in the time allotted, right?
Right. So many things. So many things. Hey, Gary.
There was a question, I think. Do you get free tickets for flight attendant?
You get a standby ticket.
Okay.
Which the joke is like, it's like being on American Idol, because you're sitting there waiting until the last moment to figure out whether or not you have a seat for them to call your name over the PA system. And it could be very it's very stressful. It's not that fun. It's not that fun. Like I remember like when I was young, wild and free, before I had kids, we wanted to go to Barcelona. Our backup, if Barcelona was full, then we would go to Madrid. And then if Madrid was full, then we would go to Munich. Completely like random. But that was just like, we're on the international side. These are the 3 things. And then we ended up in Munich, because it's like things just happen so fast. Things downsize, you know, cargo or whatever it is. But it's hard to do it when you've got kids.
Yeah.
We went to Texas. We went to Austin. That was like our last trip. 2019 December, and it was wide open going down, and then coming back it was completely full. I had to stay behind. My kids weren't even sitting beside their father. They were like in a whole other row. And there's like 4 and 6
That's
at the time. So like I was just like, I was freaking out. Of course, everything worked out. I was super upset. And I told my friends, and they're like, wait a minute.
yeah.
So you're in a hotel
Mm-hmm.
in a whole other city,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have kids, and you're upset? And I was like, well, if you look at it that way, but like I was really upset about it.
But like it can be, right? Because you're not prepared to be there, right? So it's like, oh,
Right.
thrown into this city, and it's like, I didn't plan this, now what? Right?
Right. And you know, we didn't find out for sure until like a few minutes before, like they were boarding. So I'm like saying goodbye to my kids in the lineup, and they're just like, what? You're not coming? Like, you know, like they're not that flexible, children.
Yeah.
And then they left, and I was like, I don't have any money. Like I had my credit card, but like I don't have any cash. I can't tip anybody. I can't,
Yeah.
you know, like there's just limitations.
Right? Yeah. It's like you have to make it work somehow. So that's stressful.
Yeah, I thought it was valid, but I was probably a little too cryy. It took me a while, and then eventually it got out of the funk, and I was just like, enjoy yourself.
Right?
Go shopping.
Just go have a drink.
And that was like another thing. I was like, go have a drink and do some shopping. So I was like, I'm getting an Uber. I'm getting anyway.
Oh, Jinny, I completely understand. Right? Even traveling now, it's like, okay, if something goes wrong, it's like, and you're on your own, it's like, now I gotta figure this out. Okay. It's like you don't have anybody to lean on, right? When you're traveling on your own.
Yeah, like it was just the lack of preparedness.
Right.
And I can be spontaneous, but sometimes when you're in a whole other country,
right? Yeah, it's like I can be spontaneous. I feel like this is like a movie.
Yeah. It was like a whole thing, and then somebody stepped forward and it was like, you can have my ticket, I'll take the next one. And I was like, thank you very much, but there is no next one. You have to wait a whole other day. And they were like, oh. And I was like, thank you so much for stepping forward and doing this whole thing, which made me even more emotional because it was like close to Christmas time. It was like this whole thing. And I'm like, what if I don't make it on tomorrow? What if I'm like, I miss Christmas with my kids?
Oh, it's crazy. Oh my goodness. How long on average do auditions take? Like, how long are we in the audition room, or like how long does the prep take? The audition room is not very long. Like in and out. Like well, I shouldn't say that because my Zoom audition that I had, was it last week? It was last week. The director was amazing, and she took time with me for like almost 20 minutes so that she would get the exact take that she wanted. She wanted to see one specific thing, and she was having me try these acting exercises within the audition.
Wow.
Out what she wanted to see, because I was like so close to hitting it, but she wasn't seeing one specific thing, so she took the time with me. So I should say it depends on who's doing the auditions, but usually you're in and out. Yeah. Usually
you're in and out, and I mean, I used to kind of base it on like how fast I get out. Because if they're like, say your one, you know, like you've got your 1 or 2 lines, and they're like, thanks, bye, and it's like 2 minutes later, I'm like, I probably didn't get that one.
Right?
But usually if they ask you like for a redirect or something like that, it's like an inclination that you're not completely the wrong like look or image or whatever it is. They're like kind of interested in seeing what you can do.
Yeah. That one I was like so hopeful on because she took so much time with me, because I was like so close. But again, you can, well, I don't think we've talked about it. There's like so many different reasons why you might not get full, right? And you have to just let go of the fact that it could be something as simple as that you look like the producer's ex. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or they like really had someone with like short hair in mind.
Yeah.
And or
rest of the cast that they decided to already cast before you, right? You don't fit in with the look that they were going for.
The ensemble. But then like that's again the mentality, you got to book the room. Like I would say, like you probably booked the room even if you didn't get the job.
Yeah.
she was so interested in you as a performer that, you know, if something else comes up,
Yeah.
you're going to be at the top of the list. And that's like the main goal.
Yeah. That's the biggest compliment that you can get, even if you're not booking the roles, that they keep bringing you back in. Yeah.
Yes. And I've been really lucky. Like there are two casting directors that bring me in consistently, like one for commercial and the other, like my bread and butter. Like these are the two. But it's funny. So the one that I usually get, like I've gotten 4 auditions in a week from the same, you know, casting director before. And I haven't heard from her in like a month.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, because do you track your auditions?
I do. Yeah. I have a spreadsheet. I also track my connections. So that if I meet somebody for the first time, I write down any specific details that I might possibly forget that I want to remember. Right.
Very cool. Yeah. I track my auditions, for the purposes of looking back and celebrating the fact that like, wow, like I've done a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so useful. Like if you're an actor out there and you're not tracking your auditions, you definitely should. You get so much information from it. You get information about who really likes you.
Yeah.
In which case you can nurture that relationship more. You know, sometimes like a thank you, just like go on Canva, do a thank you, a little email to, and whether they respond back or not, it's like, whatever. They know that you're at least appreciative of the opportunity.
Exactly. And IMDb Pro, if you're, the reason you're not like, doing is because you don't have the contact information, check IMDb Pro. If you're on IMDb and you have a pro account, that's a really good resource for getting those emails then that you can send a thank you to these people.
Right. And nowadays, like, because I feel like before maybe it was a little bit more awkward because you're just like, do I drop something off? Do I mail like a postcard? But now like everything is online. You don't worry about that. You just send a nice email, couple lines thanking them, and then that's it.
Once a year though, I do like the personal touch. The ones that have made a point of bringing me in or have given me great advice and stuff, I sit down and I make a list of these like incredible people, and I'll send them $5 or $10 Starbucks gift card along with a thank you note. So
I did that for Christmas. You should do that. Like I'll do that for Christmas or special occasions, I guess, or like, you know, when I book that series regular, you know, whoever books me, you'll get it. There's gonna be a gift card in the mail for you.
Right. Well, I kind of at that point, but even like if they've done nothing for me except for just like give me advice or bring me in, even those will make a point of at least thanking them a couple times a year, because you get asked so often for people to like, for them to do things for other people, right? It's nice to know that you're appreciated, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So that's what I have with that. It's like, I get that you probably have like a million actors asking you for something right now. I just want you to know that you're appreciated.
Right. And yes, for sure. And I think that's great.
So you have, I saw your announcement, a booking. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it though.
Well, I don't think I can name what it is, but it is it is a TV series. It's a new series.
Okay.
So, and I think it's more directed at, sort of like a YA, like sort of a tween sort of genre.
Yeah, she can't give full details yet, people, but yeah, you got that much.
But I'm super excited, and it's with a casting director that I've never booked with.
Oh, amazing.
So yeah, so that's really awesome. She's brought me in, like I've had the opportunities with her before. So it was really nice to see, you know, that it came to something. Like I was happy to be able to like give her something, right? Because that's also the mindset. Like I'm here to solve your problem. Like you're casting something and it's stressful for you. Right. You want to find the piece that's like perfect. Let's just slaughter in, book it, sign the contract, I'm moving on, because most of the time you're doing a bunch of different projects at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was happy to be able to provide that service for her. No, I'm super excited because it's been a minute, right? Like the last thing I did before was in March.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I know it's not that long ago, but you're just like, it kind of is.
Yeah. I promise, people in the chat, I see your comments. I'm not ignoring you. I just don't want to interrupt Jinny. So I love you all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, for the love and the blessings. Back to you as well. Okay. Are there any projects you can talk about?
For this particular booking?
No, bookings that are coming up that you want me to like direct towards.
Okay, well, Parker Anderson's. I'm in the season finale of that. I've got a role on that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the date of that episode is going to be, but that's exciting. And actually, I think I wore the sweater. I wore the sweater when I auditioned. It's like my lucky Parker Anderson's sweater. Was there something else? I feel like Nurses. I'm on an episode of Nurses.
Nice.
In season 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just random things here and there. Commercials. There's 2 commercials that. So one of them I was able to find was a Remax commercial where I was a real estate agent. The other one I have not been able to find, but I think it's in the States.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'll ever find it.
Yeah, that's sometimes we're lucky because we have like an Android box that we get US and Canadian channels. It's just you can't record anything on it, right? Because it's just basically like cable and on demand. But at least I can watch stuff.
Yes, at least you can be aware and be like, oh yeah, I didn't get edited out. That's what I'm always worried about. I'm like, it's like on Nurses, the actor that I was opposite in the scene with, he was like, don't worry. They might edit other people's scenes out. I make sure they don't edit mine. He's like, don't worry, we're in it for sure. And I was like, all right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had scenes before like that's like the scene that you think is gonna hit like the cutting room floor and it ends up getting yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're like, oh.
Because when I've only been when was it? I started about 3.5 years ago doing this professionally, right? Because I was a cake artist for 17 years and had done like a mile long of side jobs because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do because I wanted to be a doctor in school. And that got side. But I've been doing this for 3.5 years. I'm still building a resume and a reel. In the past year and a half, I haven't really been able to do anything except for one tiny little role in a movie because of this pandemic. So, or docudramas, which don't really usually end up in a reel because they're a docudrama and you're not talking, right? That's the thing with reels. Yeah. So it's when you get roles that you can actually use on your resume and your reel, and when they cut you out, it's like, can I still use them?
Yeah. At least you can still put it on your resume.
Right?
You can still put it on your resume.
Yeah. All the books are coming. Well, they're coming up, but they haven't been either released yet or we haven't filmed them yet. They keep getting pushed off because of the pandemic. So like I've done all like my smaller roles. It's just I'm waiting on all my leads. So yeah.
I've got a larger role that it was my first movie booking in the beginning of 2020. Such a promising year, and it was shooting in North Bay. I can talk about that. It was the Swan. It's the Swan. Now it's called Dancing in the Shadow of Mao. Dancing Through the Shadow of Mao. They changed the name. But yeah, I've been waiting for that to come out. But so originally they were supposed to shoot part of it in North Bay, and then they were supposed to go to Taipei and shoot. Yeah. So then they had to cancel that. Then it was just a lot of juggling, and they resumed shooting in August of 2020. Yeah. So I was able to go back on set and finish shooting the roles. And then I've been sort of waiting for that to come out. And I'm really excited for that.
How do you find it?
Movie.
With acting in juggling kids?
It can be hard. Especially when your spouse is not in that world. Because he's just like, okay, so tell me when is the shooting? I'm like, I don't know, between June 8th and June 12th. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I feel the same. Because my husband also works shift work. So every week his shift changes. Right? So
Yeah.
then it's always like, oh, well, when do you start tomorrow? It's like, I don't know. Like I'll know the night before at some point before 10 o'clock.
Right. When are you going to be done?
In the next 18 hours.
I mean, they have me, they've got me for at least, until like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm going to be done before then, but I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, sometimes you're only booked for like one scene, and then your scene, they always seem to bring everybody in early, like way before they need them, and then you're sitting around for like hours, and then that one scene that you're on that you were hoping for an early day gets put to like the very last of the day. Yeah. Yeah. So you never know. You could be on set.
Never know.
Yeah, you could be on set for 18 hours for one scene. So
it's best like, because there was another time where I gave him an estimate. I was like, probably 3 o'clock, and he's like, okay. He's like, so then I can book something for like 5.
yeah,
it's like I don't want to make any promises, but I guess that's fine. And then of course, I'm not done by 3. There's a whole other segment of like a photo shoot that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
So it was like, it would have been better had I just said nothing at all, because then he wouldn't have booked anything.
Yeah, I've learned not to commit to any time. Or 5 hours after that time. So it's like, I've learned to just like stop committing to times and just be like, I'm here until they let me go.
Yeah.
I will see you sometime before the next day, unless your start time is like in the afternoons, and it's like, then I'll see you tomorrow when I get home.
Yeah. Just mark me down as not available.
Right? Short notice sucks, Kev said. Like, yeah, but that's the industry, and sometimes it's because they can't give you a time until the shooting for that day ends, because they have to give everyone so much time off in between the next shoot. Right. So start time is based on the previous day's shooting. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I learned that. Like, it was like one of the first shoots back after like post-pandemic. It like just opened back up, and everybody was just like super on edge. And like with all these new COVID rules, everything was getting pushed back. Like everything took forever, which worked out for me because I had like half a line in a movie. It was like I shared it with someone else.
Right.
The Sauce of Love, or I guess they changed the name of that too. It's called the Cooking Up Love. But yeah, so I had like one line shared with another person. But because of all the COVID protocols, I got 2 days. 2 days on set. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is awesome. I got to do a short. I shouldn't say I've only done Dr. Jones, because I've done a short. I did a short. It's like a spin-off of a TV series. I have a lead in that we haven't actually filmed yet. So this short is like a lead into part of the TV series that we haven't filmed yet. But I got to do that. So I got to play, she's like an agent / like assassin spy combo mix. Ooh. So yeah. So that, yeah, I know what you mean. Being on set, because we're off so much right now because the pandemic and things slowing down, but they're starting to pick back up, I think. Yeah. Like I've seen coming through now.
Yeah. And well, there's a couple projects that I auditioned for earlier, like in April. Yeah. End of March and April, where they've just been pushed back. So one of them's a Christmas movie. So I'm guessing that it's like, if we didn't do it now, it's like we've got to wait until whenever. So, but that's like, I keep checking. I'm like, what's shooting, Actra? I'm like, did they start shooting? Like, and that's part of like the mind game too, right? Because you're just like, okay, I'm gonna put it out of my mind. But I was like, I really want to know. I want to know whether I should keep my hopes up, or just like let it go. Yeah, and I know we're supposed to let it go, but sometimes you're just like, you want it so bad,
right? Yeah, I feel like there's a difference between letting it go and believing that you'll get it, right? Because when you let it go, you're letting it completely go, and I don't think you should let it go in the sense where you're dismissing the entire thing. I think you should still remain that positive mindset. It's like what's for you won't pass you by. I think that's the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's for you won't pass you by. So you'll get it if you're meant for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still like, so I've stopped printing off sides, but sometimes you just need the physical papers. I try not to print them off, but sometimes you just need them. So I have them printed, and like, so my process is like, when I'm like, it's like past the date. So like when I'm tracking it, I'll write down like the dates. And then once it's past, like, then it transfers to the shredding pile. So I've got these piles everywhere. So when I'm like still hopeful, it's like in my hopeful pile. So I've got a few auditions that are still sitting in the hopeful pile, because in case if I book it, I don't want to have to reprint these sides. You know, I'm saving the environment here.
I have my husband got me a paperweight Kindle for Christmas, and I've been uploading my sides to there.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
You can connect it to your computer, and you can upload a PDF to your Kindle, and you don't need the internet for it when you're on set.
Oh, that's good. And they're thinner, because I've been doing that on my iPad, but it's kind of like,
and you
great.
Like highlight things or make notes, you can do that in Kindle. So
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nothing like the environment, Jinny.
Yeah. It's very, very important to me.
Right? Yeah, so there's these tricks that you learn, but sometimes you just want the physical paper, because sometimes you're more creative when you have the physical paper and you can like put pen to paper, right? So it depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes I just really want to hold the paper and mark it up. And sometimes, like, if I've already done that process and I'm just going to set, sometimes I can just bring my Kindle with the size just for reference. So yeah.
I think for like when it's a big role, I'm like, when there's like 15 pages and 4 different scenes, like I like to print them off so that I can separate it. I can break it off into chunks as well. Yeah. That's part of like my memorization process, right? And so we have so many scenes, you're just like, okay, let's just focus on this one for now, right? You read it over, you get the arc of the story, but then you're just like, okay, I'm going to shoot this one first. Yeah. And you like ease your way in.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great idea too. There's a really good, do you watch, I can't talk about blah, 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 blah. My mouth isn't communicating with my brain. Do you watch the backstage, the Slate videos, like the series they've been doing?
I think I've watched some of them, but like not like the full series. Yeah.
Okay. So there's Joseph Pearl. He's one of like the top acting coaches. He's had a series going on the Slate for a while, but he's got a whole video on memorization, and he's got a really good technique for that. If you look it up, Joseph Perlman, the Slate memorization techniques, I've started using it, and I'm usually good within 2 hours of memorizing lines. So
wow. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
I don't want to give it away because I don't want to like take views away from the Slate. So just go find it, people. Joseph Perlman, the Slate memorization technique.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Because you always, I mean, you're always going to pick different things. Certain coaches are going to resonate you in a different way. But yeah, like I'm like a learning junkie. I'm like, what? There's a new thing? There's a new thing I must know about this thing. So like, and like different coaches, different webinars, different challenges. I'm just like, boom, 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 boom. Which isn't always great, because then, you know, there's the focus. That's an F word that I...
Joseph, I started taking classes at his academy online through Zoom. And he's the first coach, not to say that none of my other coaches were good, because they're all amazing. It's just he's the first coach to give me a technique where I get out of my head, right? Because a lot of times we can like internalize everything, and something as simple as picking up a phone becomes overcomplicated, right?
Right.
Then you're like, how am I picking up this phone? Am I picking up this phone right? You get like...
Is my pinky too...
Right?
Yeah.
So he's the first coach to actually get me out of my head and just participating in, even though we're acting, participating in reality, right? Where it's no longer you're thinking about doing this, you're feeling the emotions, you're feeling the scene, you're feeling the line. And if you want to check him out, he does offer a free audit for those of you watching. I highly recommend checking out his Thursday night masterclass. Those are people that are booking with people like Bruce Willis and stuff. Kelly Reader, she just booked a movie with Bruce Willis. She's one of the actors in that class. Just watching it and seeing the work and the techniques they use is just, it was an eye opener for me. And I finally felt like I was like connecting to my scenes, if that makes sense. And like there's those some coaches that just don't work for you, and then you find one that works, and then that's when you start to click, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's certain people that you're just like, because like I watch so many of these like webinars and different coaches that I'm just like, you're basically all saying the same thing. Like I get the theme of it, but it's like the way that you say it clicks in my head, because then I can be like, okay, think about it this way. Like, what did she say?
Yeah.
And like one of my favorite is Christine Horn. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but the way that she talks, the way that she expresses herself, like I connect with that energy. I connect with that enthusiasm. I'm just like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, I get that. And there's the one technique that I took away that really works for me is called a hook. And it's basically a line that gives you the emotion before you go into your lines, right? So if you look at your scene, what's the line you would say right before that that's going to, or what's the feeling that you're feeling like maybe you're feeling like that really sucks, like getting into like that really sucks line, and then you go into your scene and then you're no longer acting, you're feeling that emotion, right?
Right. So it's like the general thing, like you have to have your moment before, but the way that he's teaching it, you're just like, oh, I get it. Because if I could just vocalize it, or if I could just like...
Yeah, vocalizing it is what I was missing, because I was doing it in my head, right? So I feel in my head, and I just needed to get the emotion out, right? Loud, because that then leads into the scene. And then now I'm feeling instead of like overthinking everything, including the phone.
Yes. So, you live in a house full of people. Do you use them as your reader?
No. So I've used them in auditions before when they've asked for kids to be in the auditions, but I've never used them as readers, just because of their ages. And sometimes I'm doing a scene where it's not really like kid friendly, because I do like a lot of horror, thriller, cop, military stuff. Like my older kids, like I have a, oh my God, I can't even say this. My oldest is going to be an adult next year. So he could do them technically. It's just I roll his mom, and then I would get in my head. So,
right.
So I usually use We Audition. I find that that's what works the best for me, because somebody's available basically 24 hours a day when you hop on and you request a reader. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and We Audition, like some of them will even do it for free for 15 minutes, right? Some of them will do it for free for 30 minutes, and then they, after you're done, even if they've said they'll do it for free, I tip them, because I hate taking up their time without tipping them. So, but it's a great resource for those of you struggling for a reader, weaudition.com.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How do you remember so many pages of script? I have trouble with my shopping list. Repetition.
Yeah. Repetition, and like getting into the story, right? Like actually embodying the story, and being like, because there's going to be times where you're going to miss a word here and there, you're going to miss things, but the casting director's not sitting there with the script trying to match every single word. What they want is the emotion from you. So if you can figure out the story, you can figure out what this character is doing and feeling in this scenario. And if you're like, if I was in a scenario where I was getting shot at, and my line is like, I don't know, stop, please, right? That's something I would normally say. And then I mean, of course, that's like a one-line thing, but like if you launch into an explanation as to why you want this person to stop shooting at you, or you don't, right? Like that's something, like what would you do if I was being shot at and I'm trying to get this guy to stop shooting at me, what are the emotions or what are the words that would come out of my mouth? And it would probably be very similar to what's in the script. And then and then eventually you catch those key words that you're just like, okay, I probably shouldn't miss this word. This was purposely written in here. But if I miss it, if I substitute a word here or there.
It's also a matter of mobility. I find that I will practice lines sitting down and I will practice lines moving around the same lines, right? So that my brain recognizes the feelings in the lines no matter what position I'm in, because what if the director decides that I need to sit, or what if reading the script I'm sitting, but then all of a sudden the director decides that he'd rather have me standing for this. So I want to memorize them in every mobility situation, walking, standing, sitting. And the other thing is with distractions, right? If you distract yourself for a second, and then can you still pick up your line with that distraction, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's helpful with kids around. There's tons of distractions.
So many distractions. I don't know if you heard them. They were like screaming about, I don't know, I guess they were upset with whose turn it was to pick on YouTube or something. Yeah.
Jinny, I had like my two kids at the end of one of my lives, I forget which one it was, come in and like start tattletaling on each other in the middle. I'm like, I'm on live right now, go away.
Yes.
It's fine. It's just part of being a mom and being on lives. Like, people need to understand that we're with them all the time right now. Well, not unfortunately. I'm not saying unfortunately, but for lives, it sometimes doesn't work. So, sorry, you're on there
for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that. I thought you all had to learn it word for word. We kind of do. But once you book the role, you can kind of, I wouldn't say change the line, because you don't want to change the line, but you can adjust it for like a the or an a or something that's not fitting for you, right? If that makes sense.
Sorry, I'm going to get real intimate here because I've got to plug in my phone.
That's okay.
Okay, back up.
But we had to memorize it word for word, and it's not necessarily word for word. Once you've booked the role, you can sort of like adjust it without changing the line, because you want to keep the line basically the same, but if like a the or an a or like you can tweak it so it gets out of your mouth with the same line, if that makes sense. Because sometimes like you're tripping over one word in that line, and sometimes you just need to tweak something. So, oh, Jinny froze. Oh no, we've lost her. Back.
Sorry, I'm back.
Froze for a second. It's fine. It's hard to explain until you're actually doing it, and some directors don't want you to change anything, even if you're tripping over one word. There's been cases where like people want it like word for word. I think Scarlett Johansson said that about when she did, what's the one where she cut her hair really short? The divorce story or something like that. That director wants everything word for word, even the major fights in that movie. None of it was improvised. It was all word for word in the script.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that was like, those are incredible fights. If you watch them in I think it's called The Divorce Story. Look it up with Scarlett Johansson. If you watch those fights, you would think some of that's improvised. None of it's improvised. Everything she does, even any pause, any stutter, everything was written into the script.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I mean, of course she would have had more time, right? Right.
Yeah.
And if the director wants it word for word, that's the final product. And that's sort of something else that I'm sort of learning is like, don't put so much pressure on yourself for the audition process, because that's step one.
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to bring it every single time, because your callback they're gonna expect more from the callback.
Yeah.
You can't do the exact same thing, even though they're calling you back. And this is something that I have to work on too, because I'm just like, okay, so they're calling me back. I'm going to do it the same way. But if they don't tell me anything different, I'm like, do I change it? Do I not change it? Some coaches are like, no, they're calling you in because it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But then some other coaches are like, you should have a little bit more depth to your character.
Yeah. With auditions, I I go word for word, but like when you've actually booked the role, sometimes like there was one scene that I just kept tripping over this word combo, and the director was like, okay, how can you say this that you can get it out? So then he let me change that line, and then the line was the essence of the line was the same, but I could get it out of my mouth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that happened to me on the Parker Andersons, actually. There was a line where it's like, because when you're writing, right, it's different than spoken word. Yeah. So they've written it a certain way, and I kept trying to say it, and it was like, I don't know if it was like too many like T's in a row or like too many C's or something like that, that it was just like, I was tripping up, and he was just like, you know what, let's just do it like this. And I was like, perfect.
Great. I just want to like disclaimer, I'm not telling you to change your lines. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
You do it to the best of your ability, the same way.
But if you're tripping over a the or an I or something, sometimes you just need to like remove an I or a the or put one in or something just to get the line out of your mouth, if that makes sense. Okay? Do not change your lines unless you have permission to do so.
Right.
Okay.
The marriage story. Somebody's saying it's the marriage story.
Yeah, the marriage story. That's it. Thank you. I can't remember. I thought it was like divorce. It's about divorce, but marriage story. But yeah,
that was a really good movie.
Yeah, her performance in that was insane. Just and to think that was all scripted, that nothing was improvised. That's she's an incredible actress. Does anybody have any questions for Jinny? If not, I'm going to ask her my one final question that I ask every guest, and then I'm going to let her get back to her family. Actually, while I'm waiting for people to put stuff in the chat, I'll just ask you anyways. Okay, what is your best advice to your younger self?
Just keep going. You know, like there's so many things that are, there's so many obstacles that are going to be in your way. That's just the reality of it. You're going to hear no's. You're going to hear people that discourage you. Mm-hmm. So there's sort of two things, right? So like the people that are going to discourage you, and sometimes it's your family. Mm-hmm. It's people that deem themselves as realists, mm-hmm. right? Especially for like, I mean, this is a difficult industry. It is. And it does seem very unrealistic. You know, but it's not, right? Like not everybody needs to be Scarlett Johansson. There are plenty of people. And once you start noticing them, you're going to start seeing them all around, right? Like in Toronto, especially, like you'll see the same actors in this role, and this role, and this role, and they're making a very healthy living doing what it is that they do. And they're not big, huge stars. Mm-hmm. And their lives are fairly normal in their own community. Yeah. And that's what stars are like. Like David Chappelle said that. He's like, where I'm from in Ohio, I'm no big deal. He's like, everybody just knows who, like, I'm just Dave, right? It's not like you have to be a big deal. So you just got to keep going. Like people are going to tell you stuff, and it's not because they don't believe in you. Mm-hmm. It's because they don't believe that they can't even see that that's a possibility. And that's their own issue. Yeah. So if you buy into that, then you're buying into their issue. And that could be for anything, right? There's people that think, you can't buy a house in Toronto. And it's like, well, I guess you're never going to buy a house in Toronto then. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to put away the money. I'm going to look at the houses. I'm going to set my intentions. And then eventually, we'll just see who's going to get the house and who isn't, right? We'll see where we are in a few years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because like you're saying, it's the whole mindset thing, right? You're limited by your stories and your beliefs. So you speak and think your life into existence. So if somebody's telling you something, then they're limited by their own beliefs and stories, and that's nothing to do with you. So I love how you're saying that, because it's funny because when you start out in acting classes, you get that from your teachers, like, oh yeah, only 1% of people actually make it in this industry. It's like your definition of make it should only be defined on what you consider success for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, because so many people think that make it is being an A-list actor like Chris Evans. That's not necessarily what making it means to you. Define for yourself what success means to you and what making it means to you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't even think that way. They're just like, I just want to act. You're like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to be in a sitcom? You want to be in a series? You want to be on film? You want to be like, you want to move out to LA one day, or do you want to stay in Toronto? And that all takes time, right? Like that's working with coaches, working, and then getting super specific about what it is that you want, right? At least right now, or in like the next 3 years, getting super specific about that. And then once you hit that goal, because you're gonna hit it, then you can change. And then 3 years from now, who knows what your life is gonna be like? You might be like, actually, yeah, now I do want to move out to LA, or whatever it is, or New York,
or even 1 month from now. Like it just takes one thing to change your life, right? It'll take, like who was it? Jason Bateman said it took one role, right, for him to take off. And same thing with Buzz, who was just in the wilds. It took one role for a breakout for her, right? So again, this is what that means to you, because your life could change in an instant.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
This has been so great. So much great advice. I didn't see any questions come in. If anything comes in after the chat that you would like to ask Jinny, just drop it in the comments and tag her if there was any questions about any production she's in or any of the advice that we were giving. And yeah, I will make sure to for sure link your profile. And if there's any links that you want me to put in to direct people to for productions, send them my way and I'll make sure I put them in too.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Oh,
awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks so much, Jinny. Hope you have an amazing
Thanks
day.
for having me. This was so much fun.
Ah, for sure. And I'll see you. Are you doing the virtual chick fight too? I think you are, right?
I am. I just need to. I'm waiting for a beach ball to be available somewhere, and yeah, just coordinating it, because having the kids around all the time, and I know that I could incorporate them, but it just wouldn't work out. It wouldn't work out. I'm a solo person when they're asleep, and that's another thing, because I have to do it during the daytime, right? Because usually that's what I do. I wait for everybody to be asleep, like my husband, everybody's asleep, and then I try to do my self tapes in like a few takes.
Yeah,
that just doesn't always work. You're just like 3 hours later, you're like, oh, what happened?
I get it.
What happened to me?
Totally get it. So yeah, check keep your eyes peeled to both of our profiles for our virtual chick fight too. If you don't know what we're talking about, go check out our profiles. You'll see the virtual chick fight one.
Yes.
I will see you then in that group once I get your footage and stuff. And thank you so much for doing this and all your amazing advice.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot from you, Jen.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.